All right. I don't know if I can say top 10. Let me list some of the best players I've ever seen. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Um, I would list my top three of all time, and in no particular order.
Okay.
So no particular order. I'm not saying which. I'm not saying out of these three who are greater than the other. Would be Jordan. So Michael Jordan, LeBron James,
Hmm.
and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That's a good top three.
Um, in my opinion, these three are pretty much. If you're gonna ask me if I was a GM and if I had to choose, like there's a lot of players, there's a lot of guys, analysts or whoever, they would just go out there and they would just say anything they want. But now let's ask yourself, if you really were a GM, just imagine if you were really a GM of a team, and if you get the situation where if you had LeBron, Jordan, and Kareem, and you can honestly say that you can actually just choose one of them without a hesitation, without a doubt, I doubt that many people who actually really know basketball can really make that decision on the spot. Like if you're not put in that situation, it's easy for any casual conversation for someone just like you go on the side. But when something's at stake and you're the GM and you're choosing this for your franchise for the next 15, 20 years, I mean, I would say for me, if I was a GM, I would have a very hard time choosing between these three guys, and I would definitely need to ask for a couple of nights just to think about it first. And even then, it's gonna be hard to decide between these three. So
Yeah.
these three are my top three. And then after that, some of my other special players after these top three would be that I've seen would be Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal,
Nice.
especially Lakers Shaquille O'Neal,
Mm-hmm.
Tim Duncan.
Mm-hmm.
These three are very special. On top of that, Magic Johnson,
Yeah.
Larry Bird, I think is a very good player too. But I think the difference between Johnson and Bird is that they're so similar. They're both great passers, phenomenal passers. Bird's obviously the better shooter, but Magic Johnson is the point guard. And traditionally, in old school basketball, the point guard in the center position normally would have the biggest impact for a team. And I think that's sometimes where Magic Johnson might have a little bit of an advantage because of his point guard ability. And Bird's a great passer, but then just the way Magic can actually grab a rebound by himself and then push the ball up court so fast as a point guard, just to push the momentum. It's just pretty amazing. And there's only been a few players in history that I've actually watched that actually does that. One was LeBron James. Another was Charles Barkley. Another is Scottie Pippen, young Michael Jordan, and maybe Jason Kidd.
Mm.
These are some of the only other players besides Magic Johnson that I witnessed that can grab the rebound and just go down as a one-man fast break by themselves and just push it down end to end. And yeah, so that's pretty special. Uh, who else is there?
Cool.
Honestly, these are pretty much the best that I've seen.
No
So the
Kobe.
top three, Jordan.
No Kobe Bryant.
Sorry, I think Kobe Bryant. He is. I think he's one of the best shooting guards in history.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, for me, I don't think I would put him in my top 10.
Ooh.
Um, I know a lot of people are gonna hate me for that. Like he's a great shooting guard,
Yeah.
and it's a great shooting guard. At the same time, especially when he was younger and he played with Shaq, I think that was actually my favorite version of Kobe Bryant when he played
Mm-hmm.
with Shaq, because that Kobe I've noticed was a bit more willing to play defense. And I think the thing about Kobe, I mean, Kobe rest in peace, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
at the same time, Kobe's game, I would say, is how should I say it? His game is a little bit of a dual-edged sword. There's something, his ability to get off a shot anytime and almost anywhere he wants is both kind of a blessing, but it's also kind of a curse for his team, because the problem is that he sometimes doesn't know when to take that fadeaway jump shot. And I think he relies on it a little bit too much. Many times when I watch, I notice that he can actually try to drive in and draw the contact, maybe draw a foul. But instead, he would actually end up taking a fadeaway. And if you actually watch his field goal percentage, prior to the NBA rule changes, he was shooting roughly around, there was a season where he shot about 42%, I think, for the season, before the NBA rule changes in around 05.
Mm-hmm.
And because in 05, they actually softened up the defense, and it was a lot more easier for perimeter players to score afterwards. So prior to 05, you looked at across the board, most of the guards then, they had much lower field goal percentages. So Jordan played in the old defensive rules. And even then, in 96, he was shooting almost 50% from the field on fadeaways during 1996. And during the last season, 98, it was a little bit lower, but he was playing with a dislocated shooting finger for the whole season. So that's one of the reasons why. And that's what I mean in terms of like how Jordan was so great that some of the later generation players who had so much talent end up trying to take too many fadeaways. And I think they would have actually been better players. Guys like, T-Mac, Kobe, I think they would have been better players if they actually didn't take as many fadeaway jump shots and actually develop more of the other aspects of their games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So because of that, I think Kobe for me isn't necessarily top 10. I know a lot of guys are going to hate me for that. that's a big one, but there's just so many other great players. And that's not saying Kobe's not a great player.
Right.
I mean, I think he's a great player, and I think he's an all-time shooting guard. But we have to give respects to a lot of other players. Like, let's just put it this way. Besides those players that I mentioned, top three, no particular order, Jordan, LeBron, Kareem. After that, who I think are really special, I mentioned there was what? Hakeem Olajuwon,
Yep.
Shaq, Duncan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Will Chamberlain, and also Bill Russell are pretty special.
Right.
Now, I know it's a different era, but I think those guys can actually play pretty well in almost any era.